Okay, so let's get back to the components of this Kundalini Shakti release process. So we've talked about the kunda or the bowl and the coils of light. And now we're going to add in the cap and the Miru Danda, which is the etheric spine. But first, I want to kind of not backtrack, but I'm pretty sure I said that these coils were resting below the root chakra. And the answer is it's below and within the Muladhara chakra, or I'm going to say base chakra or root chakra. And it's a density thing or a dimensional thing that it's both in and below and all around. And so it's both. So you're going to hear people talk saying that it's below, and some that say that the coils are within the root chakra. It is both. The answer is both. Okay. And I will be the coils, as you know, in the way Kundalini is depicted, are represented by a snake. So I will be using this metaphor, I think, from now on, or at least in this video. And the coils, the snake, as she's in resting, she's coiled up in this root chakra, okay? And what she is wrapped around, which I didn't mention earlier, is something called the Miru Danda. And I know if I had graphics, this would be ever so much easier, but I don't. You could draw this out if you want. But the Miru Danda is simply the etheric aspect of our spine, and it goes from the root all the way up to Bindu. So it's the etheric contraption, it's not the right word, the etheric print of our physical spine, as well as the other etheric components or the nadis for which Shakti can go through. Okay, so the serpent, the coils are wrapped around our etheric spine. And what I want to say within this Miru Danda, the cosmic etheric spine, within that tube, let's just say tube, within that are 4 of the 6 nadis or pathways. That's what nadi means, a channel or a pathway, within which when Kundalini unwraps, uncoils, and is released, she can take one of those 4 pathways within the Miru Danda, within this cosmic spine. And there are 6, I'm going to add more information than I intended. There are 6 Shakti nadis. These are 6 pathways within which those coils, Shakti, Kundalini Shakti, can release and take those pathways up. The 4 within the cosmic spine are most preferred because the other 2 would be deflected. And those, let's see, so we have the kunda, the bowl, we have the snake coiled up around the Miru Danda, and within the Miru Danda are 4 different pathways that Kundalini can take once the snake is uncoiled in the root chakra. Now, and one of those 4 pathways is the outermost pathway, which is called the Sushumna. And that's what you normally hear about, the central column, the Sushumna. But that is the outermost channel. There are 3 others within the Sushumna that are possible pathways for Kundalini Shakti to take when she is released and rises up. But Sushumna is the most common and most preferred. It has the most direct and easiest route. Okay, so kunda, bowl, snake wrapped around, and I want to use the the image of the snake because there's a face and a mouth. And what we also have just before entrance into one of those 4 central column channels and the entrance to Sushumna Nadi is a cap. And Kundalini, the snake, the Kundalini face, the face of the snake is said to be resting up against this snake. She is looking up to her goal, which is Bindu, her reunion with Shiva. And she is looking up, but she's resting against this cap that is blocking her entrance to Sushumna. And my whole commentary about heat and pressure is what is needed for Kundalini to pierce the cap and enter into one of these pathways. So that's why we need heat and pressure of force, because there is a cap. We need it to break. Okay, now what I got, let me see if I'm missing anything. Okay, so what I got, what is this cap? Is and this cap is called the linga, which is cap. I'm so terrible with Hindu words. Swayambhu linga, and this word means the self, to take birth and to rise. But that's the cap that is right there blocking her pathway to Sushumna Nadi, or the other nadis in the central column. And what I got when I was asking, like, what is this cap? Well, I mean, you know, they say it's as hard as stone. And like, that's pretty severe. Wouldn't I feel that, like breaking through, like, you know, first time having having sexual relations. And what I got is this cap is a dimensional or density cap that, remember, these are coils of light. These are not energy as yet. And it is, reading my notes, because I'm doing oracle sessions as I go through these, and it is, I asked, is it a breaking through from the subtle realm into more of a physical realm? And I got a solid yes. So this is where the coils of light are maybe piercing a little bit of dimensional and density realm. So we won't feel it physically. Yeah, so that's what happens. She has to break that cap from a very, very fine, subtle etheric realm into, say, a more denser physical realm. Okay, now, what else do I want to say? I might have to put, so I've told you about in central channel, the Sushumna is the outer column. There's 4 potential pathways, 4 out of the 6 potential pathways. Okay. Now I want to talk about how the snake being coiled around the Mirudanda, this spine, she can be stirred. Kundalini can be stirred, resulting in particular phenomenon. And the stirring is caused by all these kind of practices that people do that stimulate a couple of those 5 sections of the pranic system. And I want to throw in another word here. There's 5 major components of the pranic system, but it's called Vayu. We have 5 Vayus. This is the Vayu system, and prana just happens to be the one that's in the heart. But anyway, it is stimulation of these Vayus by whatever means. There's some heat and some force, and Kundalini becomes shaken in the root chakra. However, she does not uncoil. She's shook and stirred, shaken and stirred, and her mouth still remains she does not remove her mouth from the cap. And yeah, okay, let me see here. So when this happens, when a Kundalini stirring can result in people shaking, and always the physical things felt by a person can be very much correlated to what is happening within Kundalini herself, what is happening to that snake. So a Kundalini stirring can result in a person shaking, jerking, weeping, dancing around, running, laughing, even speaking in tongues. So we could, activities such as ecstatic dance or the breath of fire or whatever can stir Kundalini and result in these types of behaviors, temporary behaviors. And some may think this is a Kundalini release, and it is not. Okay, now another kind of Kundalini stirring is called a Kundalini arousal. And what I want to say is she's still, the stirring happened, she's still stuck in the prison of the root chakra. She's being sloshed around, but she hasn't moved her head from the opening. The cap hasn't been breached. And in a stirring, her coils are still tight. And so even the person, maybe after that temporary experience feels nothing no longer. But in a Kundalini arousal, which can happen by, again, these different vayus of the pranic system being shaken and stirred, Kundalini can uncoil, and she may even remove her little face from the cap, but the cap isn't broken. She is no longer looking up, but she's uncoiled and she's spreading out within the root chakra. But and I know you're like, why does all this matter? We would never feel it, but it is important. I want to show you all the different variations of a Kundalini activity that you may see the results of this activity in someone and say, oh, they have a Kundalini release. They must be, so whatever, enlightened. But it is not the case, because many of these activities mimic what a Kundalini release would look like. Anyway, Kundalini arousal. She is uncoiled and she's spread out in the root chakra, and her head has been removed from the cap. The cap has not been broken, but now she's no longer looking up at her goal. And she can't see her goal, and she's laying there in an ungrounded and very disturbed state. And that's how you may feel. Now, initially, because she's uncoiled, you may have an initial phenomenal experience. You may get a glimpse of the ultimate goal. You may get a glimpse of big light, the truth, maybe quickly glimpse oneness. But it doesn't hold, and you remain very restless and disturbed. And then you're like, I have to get that again. I have to get that again. These are signs of Kundalini arousal, but it also leaves you very ungrounded. And if this happens to a person who is unaware, remember, your awareness and intention is so important. Somehow the vayus, they've disturbed the vayus, and say they wanted to do these practices for power. Okay, they go, oh yeah, I could manifest. Anyway, if she is aroused, uncoiled, and no longer looking at her goal, and the person doesn't have spiritual and virtuous intentions, then what happens, because the vayu system is also disturbed, and this particular vayu which is called the Apana Vayu, and you can go look that up and learn more. It is everything, from the belly button down. And when that is disturbed and there's no spiritual or virtuous intention, and the person, has aroused Kundalini and then is living, just a normal, maybe seeking power kind of life, things can get, if there's no intervention, things can get very, very dark, because all the nadis from like the belly button down can create very nefarious and dark intentions. I mean, all the way to leading to murder, very bad intentions. And I would say Charles Manson would be a perfect example. Kundalini was aroused because it can create some charisma. You do get a glimpse of the light, and so you can talk some smack. And if you continue arousing it, but the pranic is being disturbed, and anyway, it gets very dark. So I'm just saying that this can happen with Kundalini arousal. Okay, but if there's an arousal, that's fine. You get a glimpse, as long as your intentions are virtuous and spiritual, and there's a continued spiritual practice, then this arousal will not go dark. It will continue towards the light. Okay, I think that's enough for this video. I was hoping to keep making them shorter and shorter, but I think you'll find this one very interesting. Okay, till next time.